Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday meeting at 11 a.m. This lodge holds such a meeting every week on Sundays at 11. A particular topic is discussed by a student, and then the platform is open to questions and answers. On the first and third Sundays of the month, we're studying Living the Life by Mr. Wadia, who was also the founder of this lodge. The modern theosophical movement, which again was brought out in force in the 19th century, as you're aware, was a movement to propel the human mind towards its higher possibilities. But if we look in literature, we come across mention of theosophy by Laertius in the dynasty of the Ptolemies, and that of course is before our historical age. So the wisdom of the ages has always been with us, but according to what time it is in our historical era, it either stays where humanity can benefit by it, or it disappears from the surface. And it is stated that at that time it was started by Pot Amun, which is a hierophant. It is a Coptic name, Egyptian. So as you can see, it is a very old name, and Ammonius Saccas was also trying to bring it forth for humanity during the 2nd century of our era by showing that the origin of all religions is very simple and it is one. In other words, they all come from the same source, but in time, human interference with it degrades it to a great extent. So, theosophy then is that wisdom of the ages brought out in the 19th century, and this time though there was a tremendous difference because the teacher or the representative of the masters in the world wrote all of the message in books, so that we would not be left at the mercy of anyone, any claimant who came forward that they were from the master's lodge. So we can find that wisdom in those books. Today's reading comes from the Voice of the Silence. Now, conqueror of sins, once that a Sowani has crossed the 7th path, all nature thrills with joyous awe and feels subdued. The silver star now twinkles out the news to the night blossoms. The streamlet to the pebbles ripples out the tale. Dark ocean waves will roar it to the rock surf-bound. Scent-laden breezes sing it to the vales, and stately pines mysteriously whisper, a master has arisen, a master of the day. And the day, of course, is a mantra, which is 15 figures. He standeth now like a white pillar to the west, upon whose face the rising sun of thought eternal poureth forth its first most glorious waves. His mind, like a becalmed and boundless ocean, spreadeth out in shortest space. He holdeth life and death in his strong hand. Yeah, he is mighty. The living power made free in him, that power which is himself, can raise the tabernacle of illusion high above the gods, above great Brahm and Indra. Now he shall surely reach his great reward. Know, O Narjol, thou of the secret path, its pure fresh waters must be used to sweeter make the ocean's bitter waves, that mighty sea of sorrow from the tears of men. Alas, when once thou hast become like the fixed star in highest heaven, that bright celestial orb must shine from out the spatial depths for all, give light to all, but take from none. Now today's talk, what is Theosophy?
Morning. I'd like to begin with a quote from, it's titled Mahakoan. That is a master's master. We had a brief introduction from, the first speaker mentioned what a master is. Well, anyway, it states basically, those intellectual classes reacting upon ignorant masses which they attract and which look up to them as noble and fit examples to be followed, degrade and morally ruin those they ought to protect and guide. Between degrading superstition and still more brutal materialism, man in his present condition is poisoned, mentally perverted, and spiritually paralyzed. The white dove of truth has hardly room whereupon to rest its weary or unwelcome feet. It's time that Theosophy should enter the arena. But the question is, what is this Theosophy that should enter the arena? As the first speaker mentioned, 139 years ago, less than a week ago, November 17th, Madame Blavatsky, on the 17th of November, Madame Blavatsky and others launched the modern theosophical, or the modern incarnation of the theosophical movement. But now, what is Theosophy? Again, according to HPB in her Key to Theosophy, the term literally means divine wisdom, such as that possessed by the gods. Also, as the first speaker mentioned, the name dates back to the 3rd century BC with Ammonius Saccas and his establishment of the eclectic school of philosophy. But then beyond that, as the first speaker mentioned, Diogenes Laertius, he mentions how the name is Coptic once again and refers to the god Ammon, which means wisdom. But it is equivalent to Brahmvidya in India, coming out of India, meaning divine wisdom once again. So that's essentially what the name means. Now, in explaining, Abraham Lincoln once stated, if he had an idea, and before he would come forth with that idea, he would see to it that it was plain and simple enough where a child could understand. So, taking that as a thought, I said, well, how would one explain Theosophy and its system of thought or knowledge to a child? And I went to the book that we have here, Because for the Children Who Ask Why. And I just turned to this section on ghosts. And so in that little quick section there is speaking of how the child is asking the aunt, where is it? Says, why is it that in stories people never seem to be afraid of fairies, yet are just scared to death of ghosts? And the aunt responds but said, for one reason, I suppose that fairies are diminutive, teeny beings, and ghosts are life-size. Ghosts are commonly supposed to be dead men coming back to the world of living men. But in reality, of course, man is always alive. It is only his body that goes to pieces. So there is an attempt right there at that level where the theosophical system is being presented to someone at a level that could be called a child. So indeed, it is so that it is broken down whereby a child can understand what Theosophy is. And going, let's say, as we gradually go up the scale, let's say we're speaking to the man on the street or the busy person. I looked around and I saw in our literature this family, Theosophy simply stated, okay? Simply stated for the busy person of the day, or as I say, the Miller Mac or the Budweiser Bob, you're in a tavern or in a bar or in a lounge lounge someplace and you're just speaking, and you have about 5 or 6 minutes to speak. What is theosophy? And in this theosophy, simply stated, it speaks about 3 basic ideas: the self as reality in man, law as the process of evolution itself, and 3, evolution, the process or the meaning and purpose of the design of life itself. Gets back to the idea that there is but, in brief, but one self, the self of all, and this self as all is under law. Law, as we can see, is cyclic, periodicity. The idea of periodicity comes from that. And then that can be applied to it being cyclic, the various kingdoms, from the mineral kingdom all the way up to the celestial kingdom. And then the idea of, also, just to digress for a second, these 3 principles can also be couched in the terms Beness, being, and becoming. And that's the 3rd idea. The becoming, it states that, in this simply stated, that the highest archangel or highest being is not just something that's made, but there is just gradual development through all the kingdoms of nature that the individual, becomes an individual later on through the long processes of nature and becomes. So you have the idea of this Beness. That's the one reality that is behind all differentiation or manifestation. And then you have the being. The being meaning periodicity, laws, beings are subjected to law, and then the becoming. So in this pamphlet, it's given out briefly what theosophy is, okay? Simply stated. Now, stay with my outline now. Going further, we come to the fundamentals of theosophy. In this pamphlet here, just want to gradually, as we now leave the busy man of the street, let's say we go to the academician or the student in the philosophy class who has time to exchange with the professor and get involved in what's this thing called theosophy. And it states here in the 3 fundamentals, it says here that the 3 fundamental propositions of theosophy may be regarded as postulates for individuals' use in the study of the 3 most important and comprehensive philosophical questions which exist. Okay, now what are those 3 questions? What is the origin of man? And in light of that origin, what is his actual relationship to other beings? And finally, to the whole of life. What is the highest, and what may he come to know of it? What are the laws and processes of interaction between the whole or universe and the part, man? Is justice a cosmic fact? Okay? And thirdly, is the individual man immortal as an individual? And if so, what should be his conscious purpose in selecting and weighing life's experience? What goal may be reached? So you see how it gets a little deeper. It's just like a child starting at 3 feet, swimming out to the deeper water of the pool, going further. And then we come to Mr. Wadia, as was mentioned, the individual that started the DC Lodge. He has a series of articles, and it's titled, believe it or not, What is Theosophy? And just to basically give a quick insert from his 2 presentations here, he states that theosophy is a body, or it's a body of knowledge. It's a religion of knowledge. It doesn't have belief. Belief is the mission of ignorance. It is a synthesis of religion, science, and philosophy, and as well as art. Okay, it's a religion that, well, let's just see what he has to say, and instead of going through all of what I have to say. Right here quickly, he says, Theosophy then is the religion of knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of the nature of man himself. Knowledge of the relation of man to his fellow man. Knowledge of the relation to man to living nature. The religion of knowledge is made up of self-evident truth for its acceptance by, let me see, if truth depends on its acceptance by me, on the word or understanding of someone else, then it is not the truth for me, for I do not see it. Okay, the religion of knowledge teaches that it does not matter what you know. You may know something of knowledge. You may know something correctly. You may know something incorrectly. Are you intellectually honest in that you follow that which you know and find out for yourself? Basically, what he's saying is that is self-knowledge. And Theosophy, it doesn't offer a program for a panacea for society's ills per se. It starts with the individual. It offers a program where there's a process of self-examination, self-regeneration, self-correction, self-motivation. It's the individual that it comes down to. Mr. Wadia, he is sort of like the, he's up in your face. He tells you that you exist. You cannot deny that. And then nature exists. You cannot deny that. And then there's a relationship between you and nature. And to go further with some of his thoughts right here, he says, we're all perceivers, okay? And perceivers are conscious, okay? And it's the idea of evolving, and we cannot deny that the self that you are is conscious. You are and there's a consciousness. It's just like the one universal air that embraces all of life. Then there's this ocean of consciousness that envelops all these separate consciousness that we perceive ourselves to be. Now, the perceiver itself, it's just like if you go to a movie and you watch a movie and you go back to that movie and you see something that you missed the first time. The movie did not change. Your perception of something that you saw changed. So it's this growth in perception that allows the individual to see the universe as it unfolds before one's eyes. So it's just perception, again, that is the power of perception, which is self-consciousness, and which enables the individual to realize the universe itself as a perceiving being instead of something that's perceived or a perceived object. Okay, so that's just in brief what Mr. Wadi is dealing with in this talk here. What is Theosophy? Now, going a little further, just wanted to read it back to H.P. Blavatsky here. There's a quote that she states here. This is from the Transactions from the Blavatsky Lodge. She says, apparently the whole basis of occultism lies in this, that there is latent within every man a power which can give him true knowledge, a power of perception of truth, which enables him to deal first hand with universals if he will be strictly logical and face the facts. Thus we can perceive from universals to particulars by this innate spiritual force which is in every man. Okay? And so now let's say we have evolved from the student that's in the class to a person who's actually pursuing a student who becomes a student of Theosophy or investigating Theosophy. We come to the idea of 6 items of cosmology. And basically, it's a reiteration of those 3 basic points that were found in Theosophy Simply Stated, and one of which states that there is a solid block of knowledge, okay, which have been verified and tested over the eons, over the ages by adepts, and they were not just visions, weren't accepted by one group, but before they were accepted, they were tried and tested by other groups of adepts, okay? And it's this solid block of knowledge that HPB refers to as the secret doctrine, okay? And the other item of cosmology is that there is this divine substance principle which permeates everything. To give an example, is similar to the awakening of the universe. How just like when you woke up this morning and you got dressed, you put on your clothes, and you're here now, certain layers. So when this reawakening of universal activity occurs, then it puts upon matter. So matter would be the clothing of the universal spirit itself. Okay, and then how you have layers and layers and layers. So you have your t-shirt or your most inner garment, then you put on your outer garment. So to be here physically on this plane, then the matter condenses from ethereal to semi-ethereal all the way down to physical matter. And that's one of these items of cosmogony. And then the other is that the universe is ephemeral, meaning that it's Maya, illusion. Underlying all this, because it comes and goes, the only reality, the only permanency is that principle itself, which always is. Okay? It's just like space. Everything within space can disappear. The planets of space will always be there. So there's this one absolute reality behind everything. And then the law of periodicity. That's another item of cosmogony. And then everything within the universe is conscious. There's consciousness everywhere. Just because one is able to look at a stone and say that there's no consciousness in that stone, that's not necessarily so. There's no dead matter anywhere. It's an ocean of consciousness. And then finally, it's the idea that the whole cosmos is evolved from within without. It's how you, before you say you decide to have a glass of water or go get something like that, it first has to come from within. And how the child comes from within out. The universe evolves from within out. The whole universe is guided by a series of hierarchies, all the way from the first or the highest hierarchy down to man himself, who is a hierarchy. Okay, so those are some of the items of cosmogony that one would go into if one pursued theosophy on such deeper level. And then there's the idea that there's no such thing as miracle. Everything that happens is a matter of law. And man is threefold, just like nature is threefold. Man has his physical body, he has his astral indwelling body, and then above these is spirit. And when man successfully merges when the real man successfully merges with the spirit, he becomes immortal. So immortality is there for man as well. So that's just an overview of what theosophy is. But what I wanted to do, I came across this article about what is theosophy. Could you take one, the past one, and we're going to just see what this is saying, what theosophy is. So, Tunjai, could you start, or could you read probably the first three, and then we're just going from there and keep going?
What is Theosophy? What is Theosophy? Theosophy is that branch of human perfection by which one may establish himself with the eternal cause of invisible nature, to which this physical effect is a bubble. 2. Theosophy is that knowledge which leads one from animalism to divinity. 3. Theosophy is that branch of human philosophy which theoretically teaches one what he really is, beyond mind and personal individuality, the ego.
All right. Kim?
Theosophy is that branch of chemistry by which one begets immortality. Theosophy is that branch of painting oneself which time cannot efface. Theosophy is that branch of husbandry, agriculture, which by one may perceive the seed without rearing the tree. And theosophy is that branch of optics which magnifies one's view to see beyond physical nature.
Meaning?
Theosophy is that branch of human surgery which separates physical nature from the spiritual. Theosophy is the branch of masonry which shows the universe in an egg. Theosophy is that branch of music which harmonizes physical nature with spirit.
Theosophy is that part of gardening which teaches one how to rear trees out of charcoal. Theosophy is that branch of sanitation which teaches one how to purify nature by means of cause and effect. Theosophy is that branch of engineering which bridges the gulf between life and death.
Theosophy is that warlike art which teaches one how to subjugate time and death, the two mightiest foes of man. Theosophy is that food which enables one to taste the most exquisite sweetness in his own self.
Theosophy is that food which enables one to taste the most exquisite sweetness in his own self. Theosophy is that branch of navigation which teaches one the starting point and the final goal of human life.
Theosophy is that Theosophy is that branch of commerce which makes one fit to select unerringly the commodities for both lives. Theosophy is that branch of politics which unites past and future into one present and establishes peace with the most tumultuous offshoots of debased nature. Theosophy is that branch of mineralogy by which one may discover the source of eternal wealth, combining life, knowledge, and eternal joy into one.
Theosophy is that branch of astronomy which proves that spirit is the only fixed star which sets not throughout the revelations of nature. Theosophy is that branch of gymnastics which invigorates the mind, expands the intellect, unites the thoughts with the tie of breath, removes the heat of lust, and produces a balmy calmness which is the heart's eye to penetrate the mysteries of nature. Theosophy is that branch of mental philosophy by which one may know the exact center of his individual self and its identity with the entity of the second principle of what is that? Vedantis, or the seventh one of the present Theosophists, or what is commonly known by the name God.
Okay, now I'll read. Theosophy is that branch of medicine by which one may rid himself of his sins from time immemorial. Theosophy is that branch of natural philosophy by which one may watch and witness nature in her birth, chastity, adultery, and the present old age. Theosophy is that occult branch of the Christian church on which the groundwork of that church was originally planned, i.e. the central non-difference of God with the individual witness. And we can go further if you want to finish it up, or you can just finish reading it yourself. And John? Go ahead, John.
Theosophy is that branch of Christianity which eliminates the spiritual Christ from the corporeal one of the Orthodox generation. Theosophy is that part of the Christian theology which shows that the present churches of the West are abusing the Bible by misinterpretations. Theosophy is that part of the Aryan independence by which one may exist without the help of nature.
We'll finish it up, John or Herb.
Theosophy, to be brief, is the sum total of the wisdom of the Aryan Brahma, the happiness eternal, and the life everlasting. It is Theosophy which taught the Aryans how to soar far beyond the region of Sakti and to be in perpetual joy, the playground of Shakti. In short, it is the basis of all the knowledge that exists in the eternity.
So we have here a hodgepodge or a plethora of ideas. So if there's any one particular number that catches one's eye that one would want to expound on or question, Nadine, go ahead.
14.
14?
Yeah. Why is time and death seen as the foes? Isn't that just part of the process or the transformation?
Time and death. The question is, why is time and death seen as the foes instead of, is that a part of the process? It's pretty much. Well, well, you know how sometimes you say that you just don't have enough time, you know, to do it.
Isn't that be part of the illusion?
Isn't that a part of the illusion? But about by not having enough time?
It's just in this context of these sentences, they bring in time. It's more, you know, just to use it in a context with the other sentences.
Also, our time and death, in the way we think about it, these foes, they're man-made. There's no such thing as death, according to Theosophy. This is to this understanding, and according to the wisdom of the ages.
Okay, well, go ahead, Vic.
Yeah. Poetical.
Yeah, I think what the two mightiest foes of man should be understood in a mortal physical sense. Man's greatest enemy from a physical standpoint, his greatest fear is death. Theosophy is the art, the warlike art that subdues that principle, that sense of that death is something to be feared, or time is something that can be wasted. Okay? The Theosophy subdues that thought in mortal man.
Okay.
Physical existence.
Mm-hmm. And that you're always running out of time, and death is approaching. You know, death. You know, they say, what's that? Two things are certain: taxes and death. You know, whereas as we read earlier about in that thing about the ghost, death is only the physical body. Man is always living. So Theosophy removes that concept and that fear of death, because all it is your vehicle.
But I forgot the word concept. To subdue the concept of time and death.
Well,
You're supposed to know that part.
Yeah.
That's a given.
The concept of meaning man done it.
Oh, Tunjai, go ahead.
Just a comment.
Mm-hmm.
From the perspective of the soul, there is no death, as stated, only change of consciousness. We have on earth living consciousness here, and when we are out of the body, we have our spiritual consciousness at rest in Devakan. So just like you mentioned, cycles coming and going. So when we overcome that illusion, we're always alive on any field we choose to be alive on, or wherever it is that we are, we know who, what, and why we are there. So that is a tremendous achievement for humanity if we were to move in that direction. The other is, for the soul, the time does not exist. There is no past, future, only the present. And she says it in the Secret Doctrine. The eternal now is all the soul knows, none other.
Does anyone have any other one that they would like to bring out? What is that 124 catch? Number 24. Theosophy is that branch of natural. Theosophy is that branch of natural philosophy by which one may watch and witness nature in her birth, chastity, adultery, and the present old age. I have a little problem with that. What is that? Witness nature in her birth, chastity, okay, I can see the purity of nature. Adultery, usually in the normal sense of adultery, that's somebody involved in another relationship beyond the relationship that they have chosen to be in.
What started to be?
Or start to be in. Okay.
Exactly, they're moving from one state to another state.
Okay.
From fullness to incomplete, to full energy, chastity, to adultery. A mixture.
I
can't think of the word, but it degrades.
Okay.
It's the level below chastity. It's degrading chastity.
Okay.
So, in that sense, adulterous.
Okay. It's just like the pure snow, when it touches the earth, becomes muddy, alloyed, etc., etc. All right, I can see that. And the present old age.
The present old age of the state of the Iron Age, or
okay, I got you. Time, cycles, and all that.
Right.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that particular one?
Yeah.
Tunja?
Well, we are in the 4th round, right? And we have been on other places and developed, but particularly mentioned is the 3rd race. Up to that point, we could say that we were chaste. We went with nature's program. We followed faithfully what we were supposed to do. But at the end of that, when the mind was lighted up, we didn't know how to use our powers. We misused them. Wouldn't that be adultery? And then in the 4th race, in the Atlantean age, we did it knowingly. In the first, we didn't know any better. But in the 4th race, we knew what we were doing. So that is adultery right there.
Okay.
And this is the present old age, because the cycles turn around and come back. And everywhere it is written that we have to correct our mischievous behavior of the past, because we are the Atlanteans. Now that the mind principle is freer and we can reincarnate in the West, the Atlanteans are coming back, bringing the old civilizations with them. But what is missing is the moral aspect of that chaste period when you look around. So adultery can be applied there as well.
I see. Yeah, that's expanding it. Yeah. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not clear on this term. Aryan Brahma. Aryan Brahma.
The
Theosophy
29.
29. I'm sorry. 29. Says the Theosophy is the sum total of the wisdom of the Aryan Brahma.
Okay. Now, do you have an idea what Aryan is, pretty much? Like the Aryan race. This is the 5th race, right? No, it essentially means noble, okay? Now, Brahma is, with the A on it, right? Is this the Brahm, the God itself? Okay. Say again, John?
That's more specific. That's the lower one.
Okay, well, my understanding basically is that after the fall of Atlantis, the 4th race, right? This is the 5th race, right? Which is called the Aryan race, right? Now, everybody's not Aryan, but the repositories and the depositories of the wisdom went to Egypt and India primarily, okay? And the Aryans settled in what is now India, Iran, and all that, okay? And they are supposed to be the custodians, the trans-Himalayan range, that Tibet, Nepal, all that area, Upper India. That's the Brahmins, okay? And they worship Brahma, okay? But suppose, when they say the wise men coming from the east, like in the Christian story, the east, the wisdom of the east, and all that kind of stuff. So, as far as this student is concerned, that's what that means right now, that they hold the key to this idea of life and death. They hold the mysteries. Like when you think of Tibet, it's in the east. all that heavy stuff originally comes from the East. So that's just students. Anybody have anything else to add to that, pretty much? Because you see where it says here, in short, the basis of all the knowledge that exists in eternity. So we're talking about the knowledge itself. The knowledge has always been, and it's always been those custodians of the knowledge. So it moves, when the continents go down and continents come up, okay, this is the Aryan race, okay? Where is that knowledge for the custodians to keep this knowledge? They're primarily in the East, but the East is not the only place where it is, but the sanctuaries, etc.
So the Aryans are the race of people that survived or came after the fall of Atlantis.
Yes, pretty much. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Now, I'm not clear. This is one of those Sanskrit names, Shakti.
Power. Essentially, Shakti is power.
Okay, so it says, it is Theosophy which taught the Aryans how to soar.
Which one are you reading?
29 again.
Okay.
It's the Theosophy. It is Theosophy which taught the Aryans how to soar far beyond the region of Shakti, and to be in perpetual joy, the playground of Shakti.
All right.
So does Shakti have more than one meaning, or is it more than just power?
It would definitely be more than one meaning from this student's perspective right here. Yeah. Kriya Shakti. Is that the right way? Shakti, power. They're beyond the region. That does call for some thought there, because to soar beyond the region of power, if you want to translate Shakti to power, beyond the region of power, to be, it's, I don't know if it's just literal right there, as if there is a region to be in perpetual joy. Beg your pardon? Oh, the Theosophical glossary. Yeah. Great. Yeah, S-H-A-K. T-I, yeah.
S-H-A-K.
S-H-A-K.
To be in perpetual joy, the playground of Shakti. Shakti has, it's probably going to be associated with knowledge, because to be in perpetual joy, that has to be a certain state of consciousness. It's sure, teacher.
I think what is implied here, that what we perceive in our world is mayavic, it's illusion, because it really, in reality, does not exist. But what is behind it, what holds it together, is reality. So there is an implication in this statement here that Brahma's egg, which is right here, that Brahma is the creative powers of nature. And as the speaker mentioned, these are hierarchies. In each hierarchy, according to the sacred doctrine, the student mentioned Kriya Shakti, there is 7 of them. And in their totality, they constitute white light, which is Daivi Prakriti, which is the Logoic light. So we have to go behind all that to the homogeneous substance before it differentiates to perceive reality. That is what's implied here. And the powers of nature are given to the one that we just read from the voice of the silence as a gift through service. We cultivate them, they automatically become active in us as we align ourselves to nature's purpose and we promote that program. What is nature's program? Is to move towards a higher expression of itself. In man, it is emancipation from substance.
Did we find?
John read Kriya Shakti.
Has Kriya Shakti and
Well, do you have just Shakti itself?
No.
Okay,
It's a different spelling in there.
but this Kriya Shakti says the power of thought.
Oh,
The
yeah.
power of thought, one of the seven forces of nature. Creative potency of the cities, which are powers of the full yogas.
All right. So taking that and what the student just said also, and then it seems to be, it's like coming back to the original question. It is Theosophy which taught the Aryans, okay, we got that, how to soar beyond the region of Shakti, okay, to be in,
Maya.
okay, to
Maya.
be in perpetual joy, okay.
Illusion.
So let's just say this region of Shakti, be it Maya, illusion, or a certain level, there's force always everywhere, always existence. Electromagnetic force it is, right? And so you have to transcend that force at that level. So it is this knowledge which enables you to go beyond that level or that region of Shakti to exist in the eternity. Because even Kamaloka, there's force everywhere. It's like if you throw this pencil up, it's going to come back down. So that's force. And then this region right here, this material plane, is force, electromagnetic energy everywhere. So this region of Shakti is a level of force, certain level of force, certain region where this force is being emitted. And to get beyond that force is to get beyond what you were just saying, to get back to the light or whatever level that is, to enjoy, to be in perpetual joy. So I guess it takes some working out. Nothing is concluded definitely right now.
But doesn't that also imply that there's a progression towards emancipation as well? That you go from one to the other. In other words, the hierarchies. The hierarchies are the ones that give us these powers listed on page 289 of the Secret Doctrine. We just read one of them. Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Mantrika Shakti, they're all listed on there. So doesn't that mean that you do not get all of it all at the same time until you're spiritually able to assist nature to move forward as well?
There is this, just like in the third fundamental, this progressive nature pushes you, or pushes nature. There's this force within nature that goes to a certain point, and then beyond that point, everything is self-induced and self-devised. And they say invents a progression always towards a higher level, and an indication of that is the hierarchies. Indeed, there's always a beyond. It's endless, these hierarchies. And man is composed, in essence, of these various hierarchies. Is those individuals, that was the great sacrifice that those individuals who've gone before gave man their essence, their chayas and all that. So man is more than just a body, there's and this is, again, this information is what the Maha said, Mahakoya, Theosophy needs to enter into the arena. And Madame Blavatsky came forth with this wisdom religion, this doctrine which has been withheld. It's been around, but it's been in symbols, allegories. It's been scattered, just like in the idea about the fairies. Bits and pieces of it have been everywhere, but she brought it together and presented it in one document, that can be read by the public, because the cycle, the timing was correct. And those of us who and she knew what she was coming to, in terms of those of us, we've all been brought up in various religions, and it's going to take time, lifetimes probably, to work our way up out of that. And how Mr. Wadia said, this is not belief, because a belief is an admission of ignorance. And when a lot of these religions were established, it's interesting that they wanted you to believe and not know. See? And then if you question, then you were condemned, or they say this is a mystery, God works in mysteries, and don't even get into God and all that stuff. That was for the priests, the level of the individuals, because the average citizen was busy working from can't see it in the morning to can't see at night, and didn't even have time to discuss and question these ideas. But now that we were fortunate to be in a time and a place where we can come together and not be persecuted to discuss these ideas.
You talked about natural impulse, and then you talked about self-induced effort, and you talked about some point.
Nature, what I'm saying, is prevail conscious. Nature is all, I say, nature is but when the life wave or the monad gets into the human kingdom and becomes self-consciousness, then it's up to that entity, that individuality, through self-induced and self-devised efforts to go forward, onward, and upward. You know, like
So I can also go downward too.
oh yeah, yeah. The highest can fall. Just like in the Christian story, the idea that's presented about Lucifer, very high but fell, but is more to that allegory than that. But on the superficial level, that's an example of, yeah, you can regenerate and degenerate. Okay, you can fall and rise. Right, Barbara, you had a question.
Yeah, 29, is it saying theosophy is the basis of all the knowledge that exists in the eternity? What is that saying exactly?
Essentially that. It is...
what is the knowledge that exists in the eternity? Theosophists know that? Do you know that? Who knows that?
Wait a minute.
Told you I just said most of it.
I heard, but I didn't understand. That's why I'm going back there.
Okay. Okay, let's say that if theosophy is a religion of knowledge, of man's nature, man's relationship to see, there's two things that you cannot not know: that you exist and that nature exists. Okay, and there's a relationship between you that exists and nature. So that's three facts right there. Okay, so theosophy is that knowledge which knows man's nature and that relationship. Okay, and it's through investigation, through experimenting over eternities, that these individuals that theosophy we call adepts and masters, those individuals who have tested, rechecked, verified the statements of others and have built upon that. It's been proven. Okay, that's why they say it's not a question of belief, it's a question of knowing. It's just like how the scientific world comes along through their scientific method, and if a scientist comes forward with something, they have established a method by which they can replicate that, and they say, okay, then that exists, that's a fact, so-called. Okay, so on a more higher level, on a more spiritual, psychic, mental level, these individuals, they use these tools beyond just something that you can break in the laboratory, but they use their insights and their powers to investigate what's been put before them. And all this goes into a record, okay? And that record seems to say that, and these people, they've gone beyond the man stage. They know what man's going to go through. It's just like how if you had a child, you know, oh, that child is just acting up. So you know what it's going to go through. So you know pretty much all of what that child is going to be about. So on a higher level, through analogy, these custodians of this experience's wisdom, let's say a child from the first grade to the second grade, they're gonna go through all this and that. Just like how a mathematician can come up with the value of this person in a certain lifetime, you know, or he's only worth $100,000, okay, something like that. He's poor, he's gonna get killed, something like that. Okay, so given this great cycle of a Manvantara, which is a 15 figure, okay, and all the experiences that this ego is going to go through in this lifetime, this average ego, again, they already know. So yes, pretty much all the knowledge is already there. It's just like there's no such thing as really as future, or the present is basically the past unfolding, okay, and the future is but the past, I mean the present becoming, unfolding as well. So it's the eternal now. In other words, when you break beyond all these illusions, it's an eternal now, and it's these individuals who have gotten to that point, they can see through the illusion, and they know that this ephemeral world that we're in, there's going to be so much thought, so much experience, and they got it already.
It's listed in these sentences right here. Theosophy is that branch.
Which one, John?
All of them. If you look at all of them, they're telling you the wisdom of theosophy. Theosophy is that branch of medicine by which one may rid himself of his sins from time immemorial. Theosophy is that branch of mental philosophy by which one may know the exact center of his individual self. Theosophy is that branch of Theosophy is that food which enables one to taste the most exquisite sweetness in his own self. If you look at these sentences deeply, they specify the wisdom to be found deeply in Theosophy.
But the question that was being asked by the student was, what knowledge exists that's been eternal, and how do you know that? That's this question that I believe would be.
The only way you can answer that, I think, is having talk to a very perfected being. When I look out and I see daylight out there, I just assume certain things, okay, and it jumps right past it. But if I were an adept, if I were a perfected being, I would know all that, and I probably wouldn't say anything when you ask that question.
We are all that.
We are. Now wait a minute.
We are all that.
We are all that. We know that. We all know all that internally, okay? But to really get to that, we've got to scrape away all the stuff we've been taught, basically, and get to it. And that's what this is all about: is to get us started on this path of unfolding from within to within, without, and understanding who we are. Man, know thyself. That's what this is all about.
Well, you had something you were responding with.
I was just. He was right, and he was right.
Okay.
Well, we just said that there are the hierarchies, and each one of them give us a power. So we are a compilation of all those hierarchies. They're our spiritual progenitors. We're not little mortal human beings. We are limitless, with limitless power. But it is dormant at this stage in our development, and that is why this knowledge, or a little bit of it, was brought into the world to crush the Victorian thought, to put forward free thinking, where humanity would be able to choose its own freedom and move forward with it. Because it says that wherever thought struggles to be free, there are the masters in force. So first we have to have the freedom to be able to choose, to be able to think what we want. That is our birthright. And through that process to discover who or what we really are and what the program is. What is the highest achievable is the question asked, and I think the speaker answered it.
And I think, getting back to Barbara, your question about does Theosophy, is this saying that Theosophy, what would you say, is Theosophy all the knowledge that exists in totality? But as Via brought out also, what the question infers or alludes to is this idea of knowledge, okay? And it states that the knowledge is there, okay? And you can tap into it. The knowledge is within you. It's like I read this quote by HPB, that within you is the power to know, this perception, this perceiver that you are. And as more as that expands through your own efforts, okay, and you going through this, let's say this jungle now, and you finding, seeking truth and stuff like that, and you start to a point where you prove it to yourself. Everything is from within out. You know, nobody, no book, no prophet, no authority on the outside. Is you in this whole process, okay? And then when you get to the point where it's just like, you may know all about your neighborhood, but you don't know all about Washington, okay? But somebody standing beside you may know all about Washington, and to that extent, to that degree, his or her knowledge is more perfect than your knowledge about Washington. So the more you expand and grow, the wider your perception becomes, okay? And you become knowledgeable or knowing of that. And so you go out to the universe, let's say you keep expanding, and the universe, as a conscious being, you become universal consciousness. And you see the universe as a living being, instead of as, on the flip side, as something that's observed, you know, like, oh, this is an object, but you become a part of that. You become that which you are already. It's like the drop returning back to the ocean from which it came from, but more conscious of it now. You start out as a virgin spirit, and that's the same thing of Adam and Eve being kicked out of the garden. They were in this garden, they didn't know life, but then in Revelations at the end of the Bible, him who have overcome the world, Revelations 3:12, you have overcome the trials and the tribulations, and you become knowing, conscious now. You were sent out no more in this cycle of reincarnations. You know, because they say, behold, the man has become as us. I mean, the man has become God-like to know good and evil. And let's say, unless he puts forth his hand on the tree of life and learn to live forever, God puts a cherub in there with a sword turning in each direction. So why is God doing that? So that he's not. It's just not given to you to know that you have to struggle in this life to know. That's the contrast, good and evil. I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do that, the contrast and all that kind of stuff in the physical world. Well, go ahead, then John.
Well, I mean, just to expand on what you're saying, or to try to elucidate a little bit about that issue of the Garden of Eden and the cherub that was put there to guard the entrance, you know, to symbolize the meanings. I mean, to try to detect the meaning of those symbols is, you know, the cherub is there to guard, as you're saying, and to let you know there's a struggle, but the struggle is you can't get back into the garden, so to speak. You can't get back to yourself, the true original state of being of man, okay, until after you go out. Now, when man was casted, Adam and Eve was cast out of the garden, right? The cherubim was put there to guard that, so that only those who reach that level of purity, okay, and of man before the so-called fall, all right, could come back in. See, and that's why it's a struggle. And that's why everything that man went out into the world, as the Bible is saying, is a hard thing to do. All right, children, women, you're going to bear pain to have children. Man, you're going to have to live off of the earth, and you're going to have to get your life and everything from that. That's going to be a struggle, okay? But not only a struggle in a physical sense, all right, it's a struggle in a spiritual sense, because the light that you have to see is the direction back to the entrance to the garden.
Okay. John, and then we're...
I was just saying that there's only one essence behind everything. There's an essence behind all that exists, and that essence is a unity.
One thing. One.
It's a unity.
All out of one.
Okay. Well, our time is up. We have come to the conclusion. Okay?
Okay, next week's talk is, well, it's not going to be a talk next week, it's a discussion on Thou Art That, a continuation of the 3 previous talks we've had. Okay, and then, okay, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thursday is the...
Thank you.
Yeah.